The night had fallen over the city, its streets slick with rain and neon lights dancing on the wet asphalt. In a small alley behind a grand office building, a woman crouched by a dumpster, her coat threadbare and her shoes worn thin. She leaned forward, hands trembling as she reached for scraps of food that had been thrown away by those too busy or too wealthy to care. Each piece of discarded sandwich or wilted salad leaf held the promise of another day survived, another step toward a future that felt impossibly distant. She had not always been like this. Once she had walked through the lobby of that very building, her head held high, a gleaming briefcase in hand, but fate had a cruel way of shifting beneath her feet. One bad decision, one wrong turn, and the world she had built crumbled. She had lost her job, her savings, and eventually, her place to live. Now she was reduced to this, rummaging through garbage beneath the watchful gaze of towering glass and steel. Inside the building, in a lavish executive suite, he sat behind an expansive mahogany desk, reviewing quarterly reports. He could afford the private jet that hummed quietly on the rooftop helipad. He could afford to buy the block. Yet tonight, he felt restless. Something gnawed at him. A sense that the numbers on his spreadsheet, the stock prices rising and falling, meant little beyond their own sterile calculations. He glanced at the clock on the wall. 8:30. The cleaning crews would be out soon, hauling away the trash. Most of the leftovers would go with them to the compactor. A curious impulse struck him. He rose, smoothing his tailored suit, and walked to the window overlooking the alley. There, shrouded in shadow, was a figure crouched over discarded food. His heart skipped. He watched the woman's movements, the way her hands paused as if savoring every bite. He recognized something in her posture, a quiet dignity, a determination that stirred something deep within him. Without thinking, he picked up his phone and tapped the screen. A message went out to his assistant to prepare the car. Within minutes, he was descending in the elevator, leaving behind the sanitized world of charts and forecasts. She barely noticed him at first. Her focus was on the scavenged meal before her. Rain dripped from the edge of the dumpster lid, splashing on the ground at her feet. She hunched closer, trying to shield the food from the sky. Each bite she took was slow, deliberate, as if she were tasting memories of better times. A soft glow appeared behind her. She turned, expecting to see a homeless companion or a street dog weaving through the trash. Instead, she saw a tall man in a dark coat, his expression unreadable. He stood, a few feet away, an umbrella held over his head. The streetlight above cast his shadow long and thin over the wet concrete. Heart pounding, she scrambled back, ready to flee, but his voice stopped her. "I'm sorry to intrude. I couldn't help but wonder how it came to this." He took a step, closer, the tap of his polished shoes muffled by the water. She stood, shame flooding her cheeks. I'm sorry. I'm so hungry." Her voice cracked. "I have nowhere else to go." He closed the distance until he was close enough for her to see the lines at the corners of his eyes. Not a derisive glance, but concern. "What is your name?" he asked. She hesitated. She had not given her name in months. Identities had no meaning at this level of desperation. "Maria," she whispered. He nodded as if his assistant had just reported. "Maria, age 32, last seen at the market." But his tone was gentle. "Maria, I want to help you." Tears welled in her eyes, and she shook her head. "No one helps people like me." Her voice was edged with defiance, though it quivered beneath. He stepped closer and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Let me." He pulled a small card from his pocket and handed it to her. She took it, eyes widening at the embossed gold letters. It was a business card, but it wasn't for a real estate agency or a law firm. It had his name, his position as CEO of a major charity foundation, and a direct line to his personal assistant. "Call me tomorrow morning," he said, "and I'll make sure you never have to beg for food again. But first, come inside, dry off, and have a real meal." She stared at him, the weight of disbelief heavy on her tongue. Had she dreamed this? Would he vanish like the ephemeral comfort of her meal? "Come," he said. gesturing toward the entrance of the building. He closed the umbrella and held the door open. The warmth inside washed over her, fogging her breath. On the glass door, he led her to the executive cafeteria, a place she had once known. The aroma of freshly baked bread, roasted vegetables, and slow-simmered soup enveloped her. He watched as she hesitated at the buffet line, her eyes darting between the food and him. "Help yourself to anything you want," he said. "And please, take your time, there's no rush." She filled a plate, piling on mashed potatoes, grilled chicken, steamed greens. She sat at a table by the window, rain still tapping against the glass, and ate as though she might never have another chance. He sat across from her, fiddling with his suit jacket. "I followed you tonight because I needed to remember why I do what I do." He paused as she looked up, bewildered by his words. "I run this company, but I also run a foundation that aids people in crisis. We measure impact in dollars spent, people helped, lives changed. But somewhere along the way, I began to count the wrong things. I forgot the individual stories behind each statistic. Yours reminded me." She swallowed, tears spilling down her face. "I'm sorry I'm such a burden." He reached across and gently wiped a tear from her cheek. "You're not a burden. You're someone who deserves a chance. Tell me how you came to be here." She hesitated, glancing at the window. Outside, the neon lights flickered, a reminder of the city's indifferent pulse. She closed her eyes and began to speak, voice low but steady. She had once worked as an executive assistant in a small tech startup. She had been good at her job, efficient, meticulous. She had dreams beyond her cubicle, but when the market crashed, the company folded and she lost not only her job but her apartment. Her savings had dwindled, paying rent on a smaller space, and then medical bills had consumed the rest after her father's hospital stay. He listened, nodding. "I see. And family? Friends?" She shook her head. "No one left. No one to turn to. I tried shelters, but they were full. I applied for jobs, but no one called back, so I did what I had to do." He pressed his hand on hers. "You did what you had to." His voice was firm. "That doesn't define you." She met his gaze, something in her eyes shifting. Perhaps hope. She finished her meal in silence. When she pushed the plate away, he signaled a server to clear it. "Follow me," he said softly. He led her through a back corridor, past offices lit with the glow of late-night work. They stopped outside a modest room furnished with a bed, a small desk, and a window overlooking a silent courtyard. "This will be yours for as long as you need it," he said. "Company housing, clean sheets, a place to rest." He paused. "Tomorrow I'll have my assistant connect you with a counselor. You'll have access to job training, financial planning, whatever you need." She stared at the bed as though it might vanish. "I don't know what to say." He shook his head. "Then just say thank you by living, by letting us help, and by finding your way back." She sat on the edge of the bed, fingers tracing the quilt. "I never thought someone like you would even notice me." Her voice was barely above a whisper. He closed the door behind him gently. "I noticed because you showed me what I had forgotten. That every person matters, every story matters. You reminded me that success isn't just numbers on a page. It's people helping people." She looked up as he knelt to tie her shoelaces. His actions simple, yet profound. "Tomorrow," he said, standing and offering his hand. She took it, and for the first time in months, she felt solid ground beneath her feet. Morning light filtered through the curtains, casting a gentle glow across the room. She awoke to the hum of the city below, her heart full of cautious optimism. She dressed in clothes left for her, a modest outfit, clean and neatly pressed. Outside the door, she found a note. "Meet Mr. Griffin in the boardroom at 9. Her breath caught. Boardroom. She smoothed her hands over her skirt and headed down the hall. He greeted her with a warm smile and offered her a seat at the long table. "Welcome back." His voice carried the same kindness she had come to trust. He introduced her to his team. They would guide her through resume building, interview practice, and skills training. She listened, absorbing every detail. As the day ended, she walked out of the building, a folder of resources in hand and a renewed sense of purpose in her step. She paused at the threshold, looking up at the towering glass facade. She whispered a quiet promise to herself. I will not waste this chance. And so her journey began anew, not as a scavenger in an alley, but as a partner in a shared mission of compassion and change. Every step forward was a testament to resilience, every success a tribute to the humanity that had reached across a divide and lifted her from despair. And in that, both of them found something they had lost: the power of a single act to transform a life. The days that followed were filled with challenges and triumphs. She learned to navigate the corporate world once more, to speak with confidence, to dream again. He watched her progress with pride, each milestone a reminder of why he had followed her into the dark that stormy night. Together, they built a program to help others like her, a program where people were not numbers, but names, where someone's worth was measured in potential, not profit.